Batman Returns is one of those movies that people either love or they hate. There seems to be very few folks out there that are ambivalent about Tim Burton's second foray into Gotham City and the lore of the Dark Knight. After the 1989 mega blockbuster film Batman starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, the studio executives of Warner Brothers Pictures decided to exercise an unusual amount of trust and gave Tim the keys to the car. "Go take her for a spin, Tim," they said. "We don't care where you go this time around. Just make us oodles of money and everything will be okay." And with that, Tim Burton gave us the most messed up and yet truly wonderful holiday movie ever. Now, before I go any further, I will point out that Batman Returns isn't the only Batflick to effectively use snow and winter time as a primary character in the film. In fact, Christopher Nolan did this as well in his trilogy ending The Dark Knight Rises. And Rises is a dramatically different movie than Returns, mostly because Nolan did his very best to ground his superhero movies in reality, whereas Burton, well, he did his best to do the exact opposite. I'm a fan of both directors, I really am, yet still, if I had to pick, I'd probably end up revisiting Tim Burton's Gotham City. In Burton's Batman movies, no one is okay. No one. Everyone is troubled, and there's always something just a little bit sinister lurking underneath it all. Even with our heroes, especially our heroes. And Christmas time, well, Burton would have us believe that it brings out the very worst in all of us. Yep, according to good old Uncle Tim, we all have a little bit of Ebenezer Scrooge in us. Especially this guy, Max Shrek. Man, this is one of my favorite all-time characters ever played by Christopher Walken. Probably because Walken seems to be having so much fun with the character. A favored son of Gotham, whose plans for the city seem to mirror the world of today. You see, for Max, it's all about the transaction. He doesn't give one iota about relationships, unless that relationship is his ongoing love affair with the good old American dollar bill. He hides this reality behind the guise of a do-gooder, someone who only wants to spread holiday cheer. And it isn't long before Shrek aligns himself with this poor, unfortunate soul, a hideous monster of a man, Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin. Really, if you think about it, the Penguin is the only character in this movie who isn't obsessed with hiding his true self. Danny DeVito, I've really got to hand it to that guy. His performance in this movie and this version of the Penguin, well, it was totally unexpected, at least for me. Maybe it shouldn't have been. After all, this is a Burton movie. But when I watched it for the very first time, it was an absolute surprise and a revelation. You see, the Penguin is an outcast, a loner, shunned by his parents, rejected by society, and now at the behest of Max Shrek, he's running for mayor. You see, Shrek needs an inside guy to accomplish his nefarious deeds, and well, the Penguin, it turns out, he fits the bill quite nicely. While Shrek's motives are shrouded, hidden behind the deceptive guise of holiday benevolence, the Penguin is quite a bit more transparent. Despite Shrek's coaching about how to act and what he should say, his true colors are always fairly close to the surface. End of the day, he just wants vengeance. Like a hurt animal, he's bound and determined to strike back and make everyone pay for their normalcy. I really love that Burton and screenwriter Daniel Waters incorporated this subplot into our little holiday gem because, you see, the Penguin running for mayor of Gotham is a classic story that's been told time and time again. In fact, we saw it first on TV way back in 1966 when the Penguin, this time played by Burgess Meredith, ran for mayor. Sure, he's a radically different version of the Penguin, but it's kind of the same story. Never one to shy away from recycling a great idea, the fine folks involved with the TV series Gotham on Fox also revisited that classic Penguin for Mayor trope. And you know what? They pulled it off as well. By the way, Gotham the series, well, it wasn't for everyone. But there were moments of sheer genius on that show, and this was one of them. Anyway, getting back to Batman Returns, look who has Batman under the mistletoe! There have been many wonderful Catwomen over the years. Julie Newmar will always be my favorite of the bunch, but I've got to say that Michelle Pfeiffer knocked it out of the park with her interpretation that was again no doubt inspired in part by the mad genius that is Tim Burton. In Batman Returns, mousy, trodden upon Selina Kyle is pushed out of Shrek Tower only to be reanimated by a horde of cats. And as horrific as that sounds, the scene itself, well, it's oddly beautiful with the snow framing Selina's broken body and the moon making her pale countenance all the more striking, especially when she finally opens her eyes. Oh, and did I mention that this winter fairy tale also has an ice princess? Yes, long before Disney introduced us to Elsa, Gotham also had its own ice princess. Of course, things aren't likely to go well for her. Jumping out of this oversized Jack-in-the-Box and helping light the city's Christmas tree, that's pretty much the only good things that go this poor young lady's way. So what kind of holiday message does this film really offer up? Is it ultimately one of hope, peace on earth, goodwill towards men and women everywhere? No, this movie doubles down on the Grinch Factor by framing Batman for a crime that he didn't commit and tricking Catwoman into becoming his unwitting accomplice. And by the time that Bruce and Selina finally figure things out, including each other's big secret, well, it's too late. There are no give-backs. This time, the Grinch can't give all the toys back to Whoville. Now, instead, the Batman is left to pick up the shattered pieces of this most hostile of all holidays and return home to his stately Wayne Manor to nurse his wounded body and soul. Not quite the same triumphant ending that Burton gave audiences 3 years earlier during the summer of 1989. Instead, his gift to us all the way back in 1992 was a twisted trip to a Gotham City full of weirdos, with the biggest weirdo of them all being the big bad bat himself. I stood in line for hours to see this one on opening night with my lovely wife and my father, who was a closet Batman fan who wanted to tag along. However, after the movie ended, my wife whispered in my ear, "What the heck was that?" And my father, well, I don't think he's ever watched another Batman movie since. I, however, was in seventh heaven, grateful for Santa Tim stopping by with an early gift. Just one side note. McDonald's, who signed on to help promote the film with their own special Batman Returns cups and Happy Meals, well, they were absolutely livid about the final product that was Batman Returns. Rumor has it that their outcry was enough to ensure that Burton would never be given free rein again. I can't say that I blame them, as the film is definitely not the type of movie that you'd want to market heavily to children, which of course is exactly what they did. So that's it. What do you think? Were you a fan of Batman Returns, or were you one of those folks that wishes this film never happened? Share your memories in the comments section below, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.